Hello and good afternoon. Happy Monday, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode, of course, of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. Don't panic, folks. I'm solo dolo for the next minute or two. I would imagine Fuzzy Belvedere is going to pop in here with the best bald head in the business any second now. And of course, it's just going to be two of us, unless Chaos Lounge is joining us from the UK. Hopefully, he can, because we have a couple of topics here that are going to get everyone excited for Xbox gaming this year, ladies and gentlemen. And well, you know what? As we wait for some of the podcasters to join, how's everybody doing? What were you playing over the weekend? I put a significant amount of time into Final Fantasy VII Remake. I played it both on my ROG Xbox Ally X as well as my Series X. Game looks great, runs great. Found a bunch of materia. Got my first summon, which of course is Ifriti. And again, I think everyone gets that. It's not like a big special one or anything. I actually, as a fan of this game, cannot wait to see what some of the materia is, some of those big summons that you get later on. Can anybody tell me that's played this on PS4? Because I actually own it for the PS4. I did upgrade to the PS5 when they had that edition that you can upgrade to. I bought it on the Switch too, and I bought it on Xbox. I have this on pretty much every console you could imagine. I love Final Fantasy VII. I love what Square Enix has done with this Final Fantasy VII as opposed to the original, because the original is still the GOAT. But yeah, let me get to the chat here. So I don't know whether you've heard me talk about this. One of the more memorable summons from Final Fantasy VII Old School in '97 was there were a couple that were like some of my favorites. Hades was pretty dope. I don't know if anyone remembers Hades. Hades would show up and he would have this giant cauldron that he would be mixing, and he just wreck your shit. One of the biggest ones was Knights of the Round. I don't know if anybody remembers that. Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, because holy shit, I can't believe they did that in '97, or at least that's when I think that came out. But hey, everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Fuzzy Belvedere, my brother from another, best bald head in the business. What's up, dude? How you feeling? How was your weekend?
Well, feeling great. Weekend was pretty good, although finally finalized some plans for FanFest. Afraid of flying, so I'm gonna do the scenic route and
Okay,
drive.
nice. Now, how long is the drive going to be for you guys?
It says 39 hours, but we're leaving on a Monday to arrive at the hotel Thursday, hopefully.
Jesus
So
Christmas! Wow, you are. That's dedication. That is also a fear of flying. I hear you, brother. Again, I don't ever want to go down on a plane, but I am not driving for 39 hours from New Rochelle, New York to California. I'm gonna risk it all on that 5 hour and 40-minute flight, which of course I will be going. I just don't know who I will be going with. Normally, my partner in crime is Keosante. We don't know if he's going to go this year. I'll be out in LA at some point. Well, I'm going to start finalizing my hotel and everything now. But yes, I'll be out there. I don't know exactly what Xbox is doing, but I would imagine that it's going to be pretty special. It's the 25th anniversary. They got to have something, right? Like it's got to be a big deal. Plus, of course, as great as it is, being invited to these things, Fuzzy, as press, because I do get in as press, which is awesome. That's fun, right? It's nice. Microsoft has acknowledged the channel. It's a really big deal for us. We're still a considerably small channel compared to so many more that are out there that are getting into these things. But it's getting to meet the fans, getting to meet the other podcasters that you work with that you've never met in real life. And well, here we go. I'm going to hang out with Fuzzy over there and the missus. That's going to be dope. Got a chance to meet several of the podcasters like John from Xbox Era. I met Jesse last year. Got a chance to meet Colt a bunch of times with his wife, who's lovely. Yeah, of course, the Iron Lords, my brothers, literally, who showed me the way on how to get to E3. I got there. It's going to be a very exciting time. But look, It's going to be me and Fuzzy for right now, unless, of course, Chaos Lounge finds a way over and he jumps in. Of course, he's always welcome. He knows that. Crispy is not going to be joining us today because he got stuck at work. So he'll be coming and joining us on Friday mornings, Breakfast with Boom. But so we have a couple of really big topics now. Over the weekend, there was some buzz for this Xbox OEM device. Now, we've been talking about this pretty much since last year. You've heard me bang the drum about the OEM device, which I still believe is going to be a partnered device via Asus. That's my take. That is my speculation. That is not that I've heard from a friend or from a source. That is my personal take. I say that with the fact that they've already worked together on a pair of handhelds that did really well for both companies. So it would make sense that they would make an OEM. Why we're going to get into it today is not so much because of the story that broke, because it was something that Tech for Gamers posted, but it's an old story. Actually, I think it's from November, and it is something that Jez Corden of Windows Central said. Now, we're just using that for context of where I think the conversation started. But I think what happened and what gets us into why we're talking about it today, or at least second half of the show, is a video that Colt Eastwood did. It's 10 minutes, 48 seconds of absolute awesomeness. I've already added it to the show notes. I've watched it twice. I got a bunch of bullet points. I got to tell you, man, if what Colt is saying comes to fruition, there is going to be a lot of talk with Xbox hardware. Again, I have a lot of thoughts. I want to, take my time with it. I got to read you the bullet points, folks. I took some time writing it. We'll get to that the second half of the show. We have two smaller topics to get into. Now, this one is interesting, Fuzzy Belvedere. And this story comes the way of Ben Carey. You've heard me mention his name many, many times. He is a journalist or a writer for PureXbox.com. And it turns out a major PlayStation exclusive is going to be coming to Xbox as soon as August of this year. Now, you might be saying, well, Boom, what are you talking about? Well, I'm talking about Nioh 3. Now, look, this may not mean a lot to you, all right? Sitting right here, like I've pointed many, many times before, which is the shelf to my right and your left, I have Nioh and Nioh 2 collector's editions box sets sitting right here, right alongside the Final Fantasy 7 box set that I have. I was always a big box set kind of a guy on everything, but I loved what they did with like PlayStation. I actually have, that I'm giving to my brother because he's such a big fan, the launch box set for No Man's Sky, if you can believe that. That thing is very, very rare. And I'm going to give it to my brother because he is a Sean Murray groupie. Sorry, D, I got to throw it out there. He loves that game. He has personally bought it on every platform that is willing to take his money because he loves that game and what they've done. So Nioh 3 was announced. Now, if maybe you don't know what the game is. I don't have gameplay, folks. I haven't played it in a long time. Nioh was a very, very, very early PlayStation 3 version of Souls-like type of games. The game was absolutely brutal. I bought Nioh 2. I put only a couple of hours into it. Like many, many of my backlogs, it's just one of those games that got lost. Nioh 1, on the other hand, I put a significant, I want to say that I have 50 or 60, maybe even 70 hours in that game, and I was not terrible. The game was brutal for sure. The way I played that game was how I played Onimusha, and somehow or another that translated into me being pretty decent. Anyone that remembers it, and the game is old, folks. It really is. The series is old. There was this one boss that was like this blob. It's like a black blob on a pier. Oh my God. I want to say that I died about 50 freaking times, maybe more, See, I don't throw controllers because they're expensive. So I that was one of those things you kind of just put the controller down, walk away, come back to it at another time. That's one, and I wound up beating it. But I say all of that to say, Fuzzy Belvedere, the story I have in front of me is a very interesting one, and I think there is a tale to be told based on this story that kind of puts PlayStation on notice with other developers. Now, Temco is the one that obviously made the game, and they make games for every console, but they do have what is being called out here a 6-month PlayStation 5 exclusivity. And according to the story, this game will be eligible for Xbox in August of 2026. So it's a 6-month exclusivity banner. And again, why I say there's multiple stories here is we're gonna open up with Nioh 3. I think Nioh, what they've showed, the trail looked amazing. It looks as brutal and as difficult as the two before it. I really do think that there is a real shot here where a company or a developer like Temco will try and maybe release 1 and 2 on Xbox, to obviously celebrate that they're releasing 3 if it turns out that it is in fact 6 months. Because again, if you read the real fine print on the advertising for the PlayStation 5 version of Nioh 3, it says that it is a 6-month exclusive. But again, that's just one side of the coin. Second side of the coin, we'll get there in a second, but I want to read some of the article that Ben Kerry wrote, and this was published according to the notes here 4 hours ago. And it goes on to say the Nioh series is one that so far has stuck to PlayStation as its sole console platform of choice. But looking at the game's latest trailer, that may be about to change with the third game. In recent days, Sony and developer Team Ninja have released a new features trailer for Nioh 3, which launches for PlayStation on February 6th, which of course is in a couple of days. Tucked at the end of the trailer in a splash screen that confirms the upcoming sequel only has a 6-month exclusivity window on PlayStation 5, opening the door for a pretty close Xbox Series release. Of course, this being a PlayStation trailer, it doesn't directly mention an Xbox release, but given that the PC version is arriving day and date with the PlayStation 5, any sort of 6-month wait would apply to other console versions rather than the PC. We should hear about other platforms sometime around August of 2026. So what's interesting here, and again, folks, you got to walk with me on this because there is two sides to this story, one of which being the easy one, and that's Nioh 3. I'm going to get your thoughts on this because Fuzzy, again, this is what I would consider a niche title. At least for me. Maybe people in the chat will agree, maybe you'll disagree. The game is brutal. The game is absolutely brutal. I remember playing 1 and like there was a boss I got up to in 1, which I'm pretty sure it was close to the end or the end, and I died 100 plus times. No matter what I did, I just got wrecked. And look, I mean, you're going back many, many years, so I had some skills left in me as opposed to a 56-year-old man now. I don't know if I have those skills. We'll have to see when I get the game if it comes to Xbox. But what's interesting is, and again, this is where we're going to get to the second side of the coin here. I think the jig is up, ladies and gentlemen. I really do. I think the days of PlayStation having exclusivity are done. I do. I think that you're seeing 6 months, and I think that might, in fact, be the standard. Because the truth of the matter is, look, I'm not trying to throw PlayStation Nation under the bus. I'm just going based on the numbers, Fuzzy, that are out there. We've seen them reported. You've seen Circana talk about it. You've seen many in the industry of numbers when it comes to game sales talk about it. the average gamer, the normie, ladies and gentlemen, buy 2 to 3 games a year. And that's even on PlayStation, right? Simply because they're normies, they don't spend a lot of money, they have their free-to-play games that they get into, they play their Call of Duties, they may buy Grand Theft Auto, they may buy, a Spider-Man or an MLB or WWE, 2K, whatever. That's pretty much what they buy. Most of these players on PlayStation, and you've heard me say this before, 85 plus percent of these players are casual gamers that fall into the 2 to 3 games per year. And with the economy being the way it is, it might actually be even less because people have less spendable money. So is a normie, an actual casual gamer that plays Call of Duty and 2K, 2K, 27 or whatever. Are they going to go out and buy Nioh 3? They're not buying Nioh 3. So you're going to get about 1 million people, maybe 1.5 million people to buy this game on PlayStation. Now that may be a little bit different with PC because PC is a much bigger install base. So you might get, 2 to 4 million copies of this thing sold. And that's pretty good, right? Because it is by Team Ninja. They're a great developer. We saw what happened with Ninja Gaiden 4. It didn't sell as well. I mean, that's a pretty reputable name. I don't know if Nioh 3 is going to be one of those games that jump off the page for PC and for PlayStation, but we'll have to see. But I the other side of the coin that I was referring to, Fuzzy, is I actually think for PlayStation, companies are starting to, at least from what we've seen so far, it's starting to shrink on this exclusivity, unless it's a part of the China Hero Project, which, by the way, they do have a game coming out day and date for Xbox from the China Hero Project, which is wild, absolutely wild. But I just think the days of PlayStation outside of their own exclusives are pretty much done. I don't think these studios and these publishers could literally and figuratively afford to only release when there are other platforms that could potentially add additional sales. Let's get your thoughts on everything that's going on.
Well, I think the biggest thing is when you look at Microsoft now doing the pivot where a lot of their focus is on pretty much this multi-platform setup where it's kind of Xbox console. It's the PC handhelds that are kind of like a console, and they're revamping Windows with the big picture mode, as well as a lot of updates to the Xbox app. So with that being in place, it's not too difficult for a lot of these developers to go from your standard Steam availability or even Epic, unless they ask for exclusivity, to also putting it on the Windows Store. Now, some of them are doing the dual entitlement, so we're seeing a lot more developers go ahead and do that, play it, or sign up on the Play Anywhere initiative. But I think the big thing now is when it comes to exclusivity, I think a lot of the devs looked at what Square went through to some extent and see that doing that may not always benefit them in the long term. We've seen also with the inroads that Sega has made with Xbox. I mean, they've always had like a close relationship, but to actually get games like Persona and Yakuza on Xbox and have them do well, I think is starting to open the eyes of a lot of these developers on the East for games that normally or traditionally wouldn't do well or believe that they wouldn't do well. But seeing smaller titles, much like someone mentioned in the chat, as far as like Wolong and Wushan Fallen Feather and a few others that have made their debuts on Xbox as well and have done fairly decent. So I can't promise, because with Nioh, that's one of those weird ones where at least at this point we would have hoped that 1 and 2 would have already come. But considering that you could play those on an Xbox Ally, it only makes sense for them to do maybe like 2 or 3 weeks worth of the initiative process to get it so it clears the Windows Store and the Xbox Store, and then offer it that way. if it garners them another 500,000 to 1 million in sales, I think that's worth the 2 to 3 weeks of effort that they would probably need. I don't think they really need that much more. It's not a title that is that memory intensive that it could be possibly an issue for the Series S if they're stuck in old ways of coding and so forth. So I think this is something that could happen. Will it happen? We'll see. I know that there's another one from Koei that we're kind of waiting on. That was a timed exclusive. I forget the name of it now, but it was the one that initially a lot of people were excited for, and then they saw the launch trailer, and it kind of looked like it was a previous gen type title.
Oh my god, I know what you're talking about. Let me see. Let me go to the amazing chat. Let's see if anybody knows what that is. I know exactly the game you're talking about. It's with Samurai.
Yeah,
and it kind of looked like a little bait and switch kind of. I remember the big
Rise of the
controversy.
Ronin, yeah.
Rise of the Ronin. Thank you, Duck of Death. Appreciate that. Yes,
but that's another one that I would think after about the year or two time period that it had exclusivity on PlayStation, that it would probably come over as well. I know it's already on PC, although I'm pretty sure it launched day and date on PC. But getting it over on the Xbox platform, I think it is a matter of we'll find out after June, because there have been a lot of trips to the East between Phil and Sarah going to these developers and making deals. And that was part of the thing with Ninja Gaiden. And we were able to get, 3 Ninja Gaiden titles. Well, 2 of them went into Game Pass. I don't think the last one, Renegade, went in, but still we got Ninja Gaiden 4 and we got Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. So there is more titles showing up on the Xbox platform that just last generation didn't stand a chance of us ever seeing. And there's a pretty good chance that we'll see Persona 6 on the Xbox stage for their June showcase. So we'll see how things go, but I think there's a stronger chance than, let's say, the Xbox One generation. And with everything going to this play anywhere aspect where their PC store, their cloud store, or cloud UI and everything is going to be kind of merged together, where you'll have the same corrugation for where you can access your Steam games and things like that. If they don't make an Xbox port, I could see them making it easy as far as for buying it through Steam and then having it on your Xbox Ally. Although, like I've said on previous podcasts, I wouldn't be surprised if by next gen, this new UI allows for Steam games to be accessible on your Series console. I can't promise it, but it just seems like that would be in the cards with the way they're moving forward with their UI or their interface as far as the Xbox app is concerned. So we'll see, but I do think it stands a strong chance, and we'll see if they do a bundle for 1 and 2 to kind of warm us up. So if we see that bundle as far as any time soon or before the year is out, we can expect 3 to be shortly after that exclusivity period expires. So we'll see.
So I have some context that I would like to specifically talk about before we move on to like the big monster size topic. This one's going to be hardware. I'm excited. I have some notes I took the time to write, and of course, this all comes the way of a video that Colt Eastwood did, which I've already added to the show notes. I think it's closing in on 100K. That's how many people watch this thing. Like, look, I'm not a tech guy, folks. I have tech questions. I go to Hargi Chani. I go to Keasante. I go to Everborn Saga. Another gentleman I go to is Colt Eastwood. He is a tech guy. That guy knows his stuff. But you know what he also does? Really damn good produced videos. And this one is no slouch. Just one I watched twice of the 85K. Last time I checked the number, it's going to hit 100K. Like he makes videos and people just, he makes really good videos. So we're going to get into that video. But so what I'm about to say is walking a little bit of a line here. 2 weeks ago, I got a chance to talk with a particular source that I know personally, and no particular titles were mentioned by name. What am I talking about? I heard Again, folks, take it with a grain of salt because I've gotten it wrong before, and I have no problem put myself out there to get it wrong again. But my connection that I know personally said that there was no time frame other than what he knew for this year that more Sony games were going to be announced for Xbox. When I asked him specifically what the titles were, he said, I cannot answer that because he didn't have a definitive answer. That's fair. So, where am I going with this? Well, thanks to Drake Williams in the chat. So, shout out to you, Drake. Appreciate you being here, brother. He says Sony owns the publishing rights for both Nioh 1 and 2. And he's 100% right about that because both those games were published by Sony. They were made by Team Ninja, but they were published by Sony. Could these two games be what my source was telling me about? I have literally no idea. But if you don't have the rights for the publishing rights for 3, and you know that they're good partners. Sony works good with Team Ninja and Tecmo. That they've been working together for years. There is an idea, at least in my head, that if you're Sony and you want to continue to make money on selling software, which is something that we know that they want to do, right? I'm not saying they're going full Xbox, but these games are old, right? And in corporation language, you try to make new money with old things on a regular basis. And if 3 does have a 6-month or 6, 7, 8-month gap between releases on PC and PlayStation 5 to an actual Xbox series release, it kind of makes dollars and cents for Sony to acknowledge that and say, well, wait a second. And again, this could be an in tandem kind of a thing. I mean, obviously, Team Ninja is the developer. Tecmo, they own the IP, but the first 2 games were published by Sony. So this would be a collaborative effort. And what they could do is work together to publish Nioh 1 and 2, get it out on Xbox, get people excited for 3, which would be out later this year, potentially as early as August. And Sony could make money, and so could Tecmo. Or Temco. So I mean, again, it's all speculation, ladies and gentlemen. But I mean, it makes sense. Like I said, if Nioh 3 does come out this year for Xbox, is it a reboot? I have no idea. Like I know the series because I played both of them, the 2 originals. But a lot of people in this chat would be like, I don't even know what that series is, right? So if you want to make money, if Sony wants to make money on a publishing deal that they have with the 2 original games, and they want to work with Team Ninja and Tecmo to get that deal done, to put out a pair of games, a pair of really older games, to make new money on Xbox, it makes perfect dollars and cents, but we have to see what happens. Again, folks, pure speculation, but shout out to Drake for that info. Appreciate that, brother. We also have here, before we get into the big topic of the show, this one is meaty, folks. Pause. Got to shout out a couple of member chats and a super chat here from Web Dave, who we got a chance to hang out with last June, and obviously he's going back, ladies and gentlemen. So it's going to be a lot of people from this gaming community and the podcasting community meeting up once again. So Web Dave, after dropping a very generous $2 super chat, says, can't wait to be back in LA this June, Fuzzy and Boom. Yeah, it's going to be fun, man. I mean, look, it's meeting the people, because you got to remember, like Crispy and Fuzzy and so many of the other people that I work with, outside of like Kay, the Iron Lords, Everborn, we've never really met in real life. We talk every day in DMs. We have each other's phones. We talk about, hey, how's your family? And we podcast together, but we've never met in real life. And that's really that to me is the most exciting thing about the June events is, getting to not only meet fellow podcasters and other content creators, the people that listen. I mean, last year we got a chance to meet a whole mess of people. Solar Tech we met at the fan fest that Ben and the guys put together. It's so listen. I'm drawing a blank on everybody because I met so many people, but that's the fun part of it, and that's what I get excited about is actually meeting the real humans that are out there in real life. That's the fun part of it. We also have Adidas 20 who's been a channel member for 35 months. Salute to you, kind sir. Thank you so much. He says, salute to everyone. Well, salute to you, brother, for the generosity. Mrs. Boom and I do greatly appreciate it. We also have Ballantone, who's been a channel member for himself nearly 2 full years. So, of course, thank you so much, Ballantone, for the support. He says, Boom, have you seen the new Fallout season finale trailer? I have not. But Mrs. Boom and I over the weekend watched the last episode. Oh my God, it was so good. Listen. Before we get to the last topic, and I hope that my AI software clips this because I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here. This is going to be a little bit of I don't understand what the heck is happening. Fallout Season 1, Fuzzy, was phenomenal. I mean, it was a prime example of having someone like God Howard, as he's known, right? Todd Howard. You know, Pong Soul calls him God Howard, along with a lot of other people, so that's fine. Be on the set, making sure that his baby is taken care of. And Season 1 was just phenomenal. Like, from beginning to end, holy shit, this is incredible. Season 2 comes out. We're about to hit the finale this Wednesday, and my God, ladies and gentlemen, it has been freaking phenomenal to the point where as soon as it's done, we've watched the finale, Mrs. Boom and I are going to binge watch it again. I want to see this, like, episode 1 to 8. I don't want to be interrupted. I want to watch it. So here's my tangent. Todd Howard and company, for the love of the gaming gods, how is it that we don't have Fallout 3 Remake or Fallout New Vegas Remade available? Like, chat, back me up on here. Again, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here, but I mean, who in the chat here is hyped to play Fallout? Now, they did release Fallout 4 with the updated graphics and like a boob. I bought it because, you know, I'm a Fallout fan, and even though I didn't care for 4 as much, I'm like, well, it's on sale, and why not? Have I played it? The answer is no. What I would have been playing, and I would be out of my mind if I didn't, is if they released one of my favorite games of all time, Fallout New Vegas and or Fallout 3 Remake, because I put 300 to 400 hours. I beat every DLC. I think I got almost every achievement in Fallout 3, which is crazy. And why, Fuzzy, why is that game or those games not out? Like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you, folks. And this is a tangent, right? This is not even a topic. It's me throwing a tantrum live on the air. If I'm gonna say this, if sometime this week we don't get a shadow drop to go along with the season finale of Fallout 3 Remake, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you, because, you know, these corporations like money. And I can tell you right now, if you just go based on the facts, folks. So this is not personal opinions. This is let's talk about numbers. So that matters to most of these corporations. What happened when Oblivion Remake came out? That thing has sold over 10 million copies. It sold like gangbusters. It's probably one of the best remake remasters I've ever played. It is so good, it's ridiculous. And Fallout 3 is an older game, right? You know that when it comes out, it's going to launch on PS5. It's going to launch on Xbox. It's going to launch on PC. Hell, I would even dare say that you will see this launch day and date on Switch 2. Why not? The game's old as hell. I think it could run on Switch 2, as a matter of fact. And the corporation, i.e. Microsoft, Xbox, Bethesda, would make a shit ton of money. You got everyone excited and hyped for the Fallout Season 2. You're going to get a crazy banger of a season finale. You're going to get an end of credits. Holy shit, I can't believe this is what's happening in Season 3. And then they drop it. I know it's not a real topic. And people are like, I'm tired of hearing about this, Boom. I don't care about Fallout 3. Well, that's you, kind sir. Or should I say, unkind sir. Fuzzy, back me up on this. Come on.
I remember seeing something within the search results that's hidden on like the Steam store. So I got to believe that they're waiting for an opportunity like the season finale or shortly thereafter.
Do me a favor. Can you elaborate on that? Because okay, so you know what? Let me just do the TLDR on that. What Fuzzy is referring to is on Steam when you type in Fallout, 12 games come up. 10 are only shown. Right? There's a list for 12 of them, but only 10 are visible. That is what he's talking about. So of course, the internet sleuths of the world were like, well, if there's 12 of them and only 10 show up, what does that mean? Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3, but please continue, sir.
Yeah. And we know that one of the main directors from Fallout New Vegas was brought back, and the only thing he said was that he's not working on Fallout New Vegas 2.
Yes, correct.
We know from the court documents for the Activision, or actually no, for the it was for Activision, but it also showed a lot of the stuff for Bethesda, and we know from the court documents that was in their upcoming list kind of thing, but along with the release date, the original release date for Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 and so forth. So we know that those projects were at least greenlit or in the process. Now would make the perfect time for them, especially considering how well a lot of the Fallout series sold during the first season. So having some additional, remasters, with more of a modern touch type of thing, kind of like what they did with Oblivion at the time of, the season finale, I think would be probably the best way for them to sell those titles and bring more people into the fold for the Fallout, universe. They also did the free-to-play for Fallout 76, as well as they've been doing updates to correspond with some of the characters within the Fallout series. So I would have to believe there's something coming up here soon. We know Blizzard has got their own thing going on where each one of their IPs is doing like a 30th anniversary celebration type of deal. I know the Diablo one's coming up on the 11th, but Bethesda is at this point where they like having these like pop-up shows in correlation with either a TV series or upcoming DLC or something to that effect. So they don't always have to make an appearance in like a dev direct or something like that. They have their own, call outs. They'll give you like maybe a couple of weeks notice, and it's like, oh, hey, what's this? Oh, and it's available to play today kind of thing. So the Steam, search result thing definitely has me kind of, I wouldn't say expecting, but thinking that there's something in the near future that's already pretty much set to go. It's just a matter of, oh, we have to hit this time clock of when the season finale drops type of deal. But I haven't started watching the second season. I'm a big fan of binging it all at once, kind of like what I did for the first season. So we'll see. After the season finale, I'll hop into season 2. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's their plan. Have that ready for the season finale, and then watch how the player base for 76 goes up. More copies of Fallout 4 and Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 and even Fallout 1 and 2, even though they're a different style of play, even those will probably start picking up in sales much like they did for the first season. Maybe not to the same extent, but I would think that there's going to be a bit of a rush for anything Fallout related in gaming. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I think the season finale is when we get that shadow drop of Fallout 3 and maybe Fallout New Vegas remastered. So fingers crossed, especially for New Vegas since they're going to Vegas, or at least that was from what I remember at the end of the
Oh
last
no, they're
season.
there, sir. You haven't
Okay.
watched it. They are there the whole freaking season. Sorry, no spoilers, but yeah, don't worry. You're gonna really enjoy it. And my God, it's. I'll put it this way. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of really bad one-to-ones where they put out a show and it's just terrible, right? Season 1 comes out, you're like, "Okay, it's not bad, whatever." Season 2 comes out, it's either terrible or not much better. Uh, like Halo, for instance, comes to mind. Halo season 1 was okay, right? It wasn't, terrible, but it wasn't great, and no one wanted to see Master Cheeks' ass, but we did, and well, there you go. I'm scarred for life. But season 2 was really good. And interestingly enough, I don't know whether you guys follow the trades, 'cause I'm a tradesman. I'm a big, big, big movie buff. Anyway, I'm all over the place here. Please, for the love of Joe, watch Wonder Man. Oh my God, it's so freaking good. It has no right to be. That better get a season 2. Holy shit, it's good. But again, sorry for the craziness. Let's go back to Fallout. Um, Season 1 was excellent. So of course, you put out season 1 of Fallout, Todd Howard has his hands all over it. He's working real close to make sure that it is as close to the game as possible. The whether it be, props in the world, whether it be the sound effects, whether it be the music, it just everything about season 1 was phenomenal. And then season 2 comes out and you're like, well, can it be any better? And I'm here to tell you it is leaps and bounds better. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. So it looks like everyone is excited. I'm excited. And I do hope at some point, sometime this week, that they do get their S together and put this out, because I think they would make a lot of money. And this is one of those kind of strike while the iron is hot kind of situation. I really think they need to do that. But again, we will certainly see. We have a super chat that popped in here from a good friend of the show. Eternal Shaddai drops an outstanding and ridiculous $20 super chat. So, Eternal, thank you for the crazy generosity. He says, "Good afternoon. Shout out to the panel. Belief that the reason why Fallout Remake, and also I will include that major Starfield update, is probably due to their 35th anniversary, maybe event soon." You know something, bro? That is actually a phenomenal point. I did not even consider that. That does make a whole lot of sense. They are celebrating their 35th anniversary as a platform. Blizzard has a lot of celebrations. They have a lot of games. You heard Fuzzy talk about them having an event for each one. Like WoW is going to get their own. So we'll see exactly, what they're doing, but not to be outdone. And this is of course what you're talking about is the anniversary for Bethesda, which is going to also be a big, big celebration. That's the thing. If you think about it, there's a lot going on this year for not only the 25th anniversary of Xbox, but just of all of the brands and IPs that Xbox owns. And, they have a couple of publishers in Blizzard and Bethesda that's also celebrating. I don't know where you find the time for these things. I just don't. But look, I do want to move on. So, Eternal Shaddai, brother, thank you so much for the generosity, brother. We super appreciate it. I want to get to the big topic of the show, folks. I'm not going to play it because obviously I usually like to ask permission if I'm going to use somebody's video. Colt probably wouldn't care. I did add his video, which is closing in, by the way, at 94K views on this thing. So a lot of people viewed it, and it's 10 minutes, 58 seconds. You know what? Definitely go watch it for sure. But I have a bunch of bullet points that I want to get into that I think really, should get you excited. Oh, by the way, Fuzz, I hear you clicking. I don't know if that's your keyboard. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No sweat, brother. No sweat. Um, so look, I've been banging the drum since last year, and it's a personal opinion. It's not I heard from a source and here you go. We've been hearing for quite some time. Jez Corden has talked about it. Colt Eastwood recently just talked about it. I've talked about it. Many content creators have talked about this OEM device that was expected to release this year. Now, I know that on my last video, I got a lot of really negative comments, which is fine. I try to read and respond to as many as I can, that were suggesting or asking the question of why would Xbox release hardware, especially not their own hardware, this year, after posting for like the fifth or sixth consecutive quarter of losses in for their own hardware. This last quarter was reported they were down 32% on top of all of the other losses. Well, they had a release last October of the ROG Xbox and Xbox Ally X and the regular Ally. And quite frankly, they sold really well for both companies. And this untraditional box that could come out this year is going to be what the ROG Ally and Ally X are for handhelds, except it's going to be a box that sits underneath your TV that is an open source box. This could be a bit of a preview to what Magnus is ultimately going to look like. Now, again, I have the bullet points here in front of me, and I want to read them specifically because it does break it down. Now, in Colt's recent coverage, he broke down the shift in Microsoft's hardware strategy, specifically focusing on next gen PC console hybrids. And the takeaways from his video, and again, it's almost 11 minutes. It's well worth a watch. I've watched it twice. I got some notes here, folks, and I want to break it down because I think that it really does kind of line up with my thoughts on not only are we going to get a reveal, and I'll break down the timeline of this. This is how I think this bad boy is going to happen. So for the timeline, how I actually see these pair of consoles being announced is just like last year's Xbox show in June, which I was ass and seat along with Web Dave and many people that are in this chat right now, right? Maverick was there also. We got a chance to hang out with him. We got a chance to see the unveiling of the handheld, right? We saw it there and everyone went crazy, right? We knew this was happening. It was rumored, but we got a chance to see this thing. And it's as grand as a time I've ever been in the audience for anything. The whole audience erupted when they showed this thing, right? We knew it was going to be the partner device, but it was still incredible to see there. I can actually see that happening again this June. And again, their show is going to be huge, man. It's the 25th anniversary. You might be asking, well, why wouldn't they show their own hardware at the June event? Well, I have an answer for you folks, because the June event is going to be what is coming out for the remainder of the 6 months behind it. There's going to be some surprises in there. They're going to be celebrating their anniversary with some even bigger surprises. And then they're going to show off this partnered device, which will have a release date of the fall of 26. That's my opinion. That's my take on it. So if you're wondering, where does the official Xbox hardware show up? Is that the Keeleys? The answer is no, it's not. And it's, again, speculation, folks. So walk with me on this. We know that the November 15th date is officially the 25th anniversary of Xbox. That is happening on Sunday, this November 15th. Are they going to have a show on that Sunday? I have no idea. what I'm pretty confident in, again, this is just my speculation, folks, and Fuzzy, I actually think that they're going to have a 25th anniversary celebration something. Not a dev direct, an actual something. It's going to be pre-recorded and it's going to be a really, really big deal. Now, if there is an actual event that I could fly out to, rest assured, I'm going to find a way out there because you're encroaching in on the holidays, and that's right around Thanksgiving. Everything would be expensive. So in my mind, I hope it's just a pre-recorded celebrate with us. If that does happen, that Fuzzy is where they're going to show off their new hardware and give you a release window for 2027, or at least holiday 2027. So let me just read some of the bullet points I have here, and I'll hand you the mic, and then we'll go crazy with it. These are some of the key takeaways from Colt's video. The PC hybrid architecture, as it's known, is the next according to Colt, the next Xbox is expected to run a full version of Windows 11 with a dedicated console UI. Now that UI is out. We've seen it. It looks awesome. It runs great. Yes, there's some hiccups, but that's ultimately the UI to rule them all that you've heard me talk about. Colt goes on to say, effectively allowing users to access Steam, Epic Game Store, and other PC storefronts alongside their entire Xbox library. That's a really big deal, folks. So, another bullet point here that Colt mentioned in his video, the Xbox Magnus Project, rumored as a high-end, quote, flagship console. This device is being positioned to offer a premium experience with power levels intended to exceed the PlayStation 6, which we just heard in a story from an analyst where that might actually get delayed until 2030, giving this console upwards of potentially 3-year jump on the next PlayStation. That's a really big deal. Here's another really big key point that went under discussed with games media, because I think that it is one of the biggest deals of the next generation Xbox. No multiplayer paywall, just like PC. Because remember, this is going to be a hybrid. It's going to be a PC-like device. Colt highlights the reports that the next generation may finally remove the Game Pass / Xbox Live paywall for online multiplayer, potentially making it free as it is on PCs. And I'm here to tell you right now that one nugget, and we have a few more to get into before I hand the mic over to Fuzzy. That one particular nugget, ladies and gentlemen, is key, because if you are going to be presenting multiple versions of the next Xbox, which is expected to have multiple pricings, some low end, some super high end, some in the middle, it's going to be the choice of the consumer where you or how much power you're going to want for this thing. Who's going to be selling it? Is it going to be Asus? Is it going to be Lenovo? Is it going to be Dell? Is it going to be Alienware? We don't have any idea. But the fact that there's going to be choice on how much you spend is a really big deal, giving people, just like PCs, entry level, high end. And that's awesome. But if this comes to fruition and the next Xbox removes the paywall to play online, PlayStation is in trouble. I'm telling you right now, because it's going to be hard to try and sell a singular system that plays PlayStation 4 and 5 and 6 games that you still have to pay to play online, and ask anywhere between $800 to $1,200 for the next PlayStation 6. And again, this is just speculation. But if Xbox is giving you this opportunity to buy a box that fits your fiscal accessibility, whether that be low end or high end, and this is a box that not only plays your Xbox games, but plays all of these Epic Game Store and all of these different storefronts with no paywall, I'm sorry, folks. You can sugarcoat it all you want. PlayStation is in a pickle if this comes to fruition. But let me just continue. Colt in his video says the release window and pricing. Now, Colt suggests the potential reveal in 2026 to coincide with, of course, we just talked about it, the Xbox 25th anniversary with a release for 2027. And due to the high-end PC components, pricing is speculated to be significantly higher than current consoles, potentially ranging anywhere between $1K to $1,200. And lastly, the universal dashboard. A major focus, according to Colt, is the new universal dashboard that will work across any screen, including potential native handhelds, often referred to as the Xbox Ally. Look, there's a lot to unpack here, Fuzzy Belvedere, and quite frankly, I'm sorry. I know that everybody wants to believe that it's gloom and doom and Xbox is dead, and developers are not making gains for their console, according to certain reports by certain journalists. It's a load of horse shit, folks. If there is one platform that seems to have a roadmap that is going to kick ass and take names and bring in a lot of new players, I'm sorry to tell you, right now, that is Xbox. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Well, I've been saying this for a little bit now, as far as like the next console, it winds up being like an OEM device. What I think it would be and where it would probably position itself price wise as well as utility wise. I think we could all stand to look at the Steam machine as kind of like a mid example of what we might see before Magnus. Like it's not that I don't believe that they could do a Magnus level chip in a OEM device prior to Xbox releasing it themselves, but I think there's a tier that we can hit before that will be able to do 90% of the stuff that the Magnus can do. It's just that it'll be at a lower fidelity. And I think that's essentially taking the Xbox Ally and making it a stationary device without a screen. Essentially, if you look at the Steam machine, it's meant to be a super Steam Deck without a screen to it. So I could see ROG doing the same thing with the Xbox Ally and having it where maybe it's a little bit more memory, a little bit faster chipset, and it would be something that can perform at the same level as a Series X and S, maybe even a little bit above them, but also have the Windows 11 / Xbox full screen experience in the forefront. So that way you would essentially have a console that you could buy today, or whenever they release it, that is, that can access your Steam games while still accessing your Xbox library. So I think that's the first step. And I do think that's the device that we see by the holidays. Now, Xbox could completely surprise us, and with all the follow-up stories that we've heard where they've secured a decent amount of memory chips and things along those lines, they could still release Magnus before this year is out. I have my doubts on that. I think we do get to see it, or at least get further details in a rough ETA, like maybe holiday of 27 or holiday of 28 or whatever the case may be, for an announcement. Because remember, the Xbox One X, the Scorpio, we saw that for 2 years prior to it being orderable, yes, or pre-orderable and stuff. So I could see them doing something similar with the Magnus device. So, but before we get to that point, imagine having something, because as a lot of people have seen more recently, the price point for the Xbox Ally, just the one in white, that's pretty much like a super Steam Deck to some extent, or a little bit above your standard Steam Deck. That device is actually taken a bit of a price drop. Yep. So if you go with something that's not meant to be portable, chances are it's going to start at a lower price point to begin with. So that could be a device that starts at $500. Maybe we see it at $450 or something around those range, but it would be on par, if not maybe a little bit better than the Series X. About the only exception might be on extremely graphically intense games. When you're pushing it for 4K, maybe the default is 1440 or something like that, where if you have an 8K TV, you might notice a little bit of blurriness and some of the distance. But I think for the most part, it would look like what you're used to seeing on your Series X, probably come in a little bit cheaper, be able to access your Steam games, and probably take up a lot less space. Now, bear in mind, you could probably forget about physical,
Yes.
playable media. This would be like a digital only device. So, that being said, would it be compatible with the storage cards that I guess what was it, Seagate? I think made
Seagate, yeah.
for the series consoles. Probably not. It will probably work with SD cards, like the high capacity, high speed ones. But as far as like that external or that extension card, it probably won't. But all of that being said, those SD cards or those little mini micro cards are getting cheaper and cheaper by the dozen, to the point where you could probably get twice the amount of storage you would see in some of those expansion cards for about a third the price kind of deal. So I think that's what we see from the likes of Asus with a ROG Ally base or a ROG Ally console or whatever they decide to call it. I think that would be the device to keep an eye out for, because if you were on the fence as far as getting one of those portable devices, because you can't really see yourself using it portable, you would more than likely just have it docked most of the time. I think this would be the potential solution. And if the price is right, which I think 500 or lower would be a good starting point considering it's not portable, I think that would be the device that we probably see. Now, the irony of it is it would be priced better than a series console today, and that would kind of smack Xbox in the face to some extent. But if they're moving towards more of that premium console with the Magnus, in the next iteration, this would be a way to get the masses in the door, still have it where they can play this gen's games as well as next gen games. It's just that they will be capped at, let's say 1440 instead of 4K or 8K. I think most people would be fine with that, considering how well the Series S does, for those that have that as like a secondary or even their primary console. But there is that potential for a device like this to, slide in there at a good price point, have a ton of features. We see what Xbox is doing with their UI, making it so much easier to have something like Windows 11 run in the background, but on the foreground, have it look like your Xbox console as far as the interface. I think that's what we'll wind up seeing. But as a PC gamer and console gamer, I'm still cursing at Windows 11 for some of the bloat stuff in the background. But then again, when you look at what they've done with the Xbox Ally and the Ally X, unless you decide to go to desktop mode and then go back, which you would have to reboot it, so that way the memory allocation is geared more towards gaming as opposed to Excel spreadsheets and stuff. That's the one thing that I'm hoping that they work even further to make sure that if you have no intent of using your Xbox Ally or any of these Windows 11 devices that are going to be gaming devices, if you don't have any desire to use them as like your tax filing machine or your word processing machine or anything along those lines, other than maybe browsing the web, checking email here or there, watching YouTube video or watch Netflix or something, I hope they just make sure that they keep it so the allocation doesn't start going to the calculator or to Copilot or to the Paint program, which wouldn't make sense for that device. Now, the photo program kind of would make sense, since you could do video clips and screenshots and things like that with it. But yeah, I could totally see this being the device that we see sometime between now and June, or sometime between June and the Keeleys kind of thing. And I think it would be, just like I said, for the Xbox Ally at 600, I think this type of device at 500 would be an awesome device for those that want to dip their toe into the PC realm, but still want to play console games. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, look, pricing. I know Black Skeletons is in the chat. So what's up, brother? Nice to see you in the chat. He asked, how much of these things going to be, and he goes, it's super spooky. Like everything right now is so ridiculously expensive. But I think Fuzzy's onto something here. Like right now, if you are interested in what I believe to be an Xbox handheld, right, whether that be the X or the Ally, the Ally is selling right now, ladies and gentlemen, on Amazon for under $500. I saw Jez Corden talking about it. I saw Wario64 talk about it, and that's a really big deal. That's an excellent console, and you've heard Fuzzy talk about it specifically. It's a damn good console. It's under $500, and look, maybe the Steam Deck you think is better. Maybe something that you have a Lenovo and you're like, I know, I like mine better. I'm gonna tell you this right now. The way that they designed this controller, the way they designed the handheld, it feels like a controller in your hand. Like it's perfect. It's just perfect. So if you're interested and you don't, I mean, look, I'm not going to stay in the line and say I was not going to get the smaller version. I got the big boy. Listen, I don't spend a lot of money, outside of gaming. I don't have any vices, so that's where my money goes, folks. So I was buying the big boy. But if you're someone that was been waiting, maybe you couldn't find it, or it's out of your budget. And listen, right now everything's out of a lot of people's budgets. Nothing wrong with that. Just the world sucks right now. If you have the spare money, or you are someone that has at least decent credit, go buy it or go get it on Amazon and use Affirm and pay, take the 12-month Affirm thing. You're not paying a lot on the back end. It's probably like, $40 more that if you did it through Affirm, and get your console. You know what I'm saying? That again, that's just one of many ways you can do it. But look, I'm excited for next generation hardware. I'm excited for this year because I do believe we're getting not one but two console reveals. That's just my take on it. I believe that, and to add some additional, I guess, fuel to the flames here. No pun intended with the flames being on the screen. Fuzzy brings up a phenomenal point. If you're taking this, if you're taking what Asus put into these handhelds, right? And you're not making a console as small. I mean, it could be somewhere around the same size, but some of the things that you got to take into account is you're not putting a controller into this box underneath your TV. You're removing the cost from the screen. The screen is also taken out. So what's in there? The innards that make this a powerful console, meaning the Ally X, those internal pieces, along with a hard drive. Now it could be 1 terabyte like the X, or it could be 2 terabyte like the Steam machine, right? Meaning Asus, if they were to make this device, this what would be considered a mini PC. I know people have seen them. There are mini PCs that are available out there, right? Some of them are a little bit bigger than the Steam Deck. The Steam machine. Some of them are a little bit smaller. Maybe that's what they're going to. Now, I don't know if they could get it to 500, like Fuzzy was saying. Maybe it's 6, maybe it's 7. But you got to remember, if they could take what they did, give it a little bit more power, and take away the controller, take away the screen, take away all of this extra monies that were spent to make the handheld, and put it into this little box that has an Asus logo and an Xbox logo on it, that could be the OEM device, or at least the start of them. Again, this is all speculation, folks, but this was a hell of a topic. But we got a couple of minutes before the 1:30 hour. I do have a story here, Fuzzy Belvedere, and this is kind of shooting from the hip. I don't normally like to do that, but we have so much time. I don't want to just end the show because I'm excited to be talking about Xbox, and I'm sure you're here for it, ladies and gentlemen. So this is interesting. So Xbox Game Studios, Fuzzy and chat, are doing something that I have coined never been done before, right? I challenge you, fine chat, to find a platform any year that you could find. I mean, go back 25 years and try and sell me on a lineup better than what Xbox Game Studios is releasing in 26. And again, without any hypotheticals, we'll just go based on what we know. And what we know are 5 games. Halo, Campaign Evolved, Gears of War E-Day, Forza Horizon 6 in Japan, right? Fable, and Modern Warfare 4. 5 games, ladies and gentlemen. I challenge you, chat, to find any one platform on any one year that put out games that good. These are AAA bangers. Every single one of them. And that is without the potential of Clockwork Revolution releasing, which I still think is this year. Fallout 3 remake, Fallout, New Vegas remake, and potentially, and you know what's crazy? I left off the table because it's a smaller game, which I think is going to hit in a big way. Double Fine's Kiln, confirmed this year. Now, maybe it's not everybody's game, but I have a feeling based on some of the reception that game is going to be one of those party games that just hits. It looks fun like that. Is it a banger? Well, that's really, you'd have to answer that. I think it's what Double Fine does. And it's why I'm so glad that Tim Schafer and that team exist, because they're an art house studio making art house level games, and that's awesome. But getting back to the point or the conversation we're about to have here, Fuzzy, I have a tweet here from Ecstasies. And you know who he is. He is a YouTuber from Spain, pretty much an Xbox guy. He put out a tweet that's very, very interesting. So most of the games that I made mention of, we know are releasing on PC, on Xbox, and more specifically, on PlayStation 5. I don't know about Switch 2. I'm going to leave them off the table because I don't think any of these games that I mentioned are releasing on Switch 2 this year. That's just my take on it. And I think every one of these games are a banger. Well, if you're wondering how big 2 of those 5 games, 5, 6, 7 games that I made mention of are, well, Fable and Forza Horizon 6 are making headway and could be, Fuzzy, the biggest games of the year. Not only will they sell well, they will be reviewed well. I have thoughts and theories. If we're going to talk about it, I'll make mention of it. But I have the tweet in front of me, and he writes the data in all caps. Fable just slammed down on the table, and in just 10 days since the Developer Direct broadcast, the game has climbed 22 spots, moving from number 32 to in the top 10 among the most wishlist games on Steam. He goes on to say what's impressive isn't just the rise, but the context. Fable, over 7 months from its release, is already outpacing the hype titles that launch much sooner. And there's another title that is currently sitting at number 6 as the most wishlist game on Steam. And that, you're right, Fuzzy Belvedere, that is Forza Horizon 6. Not only do I think that these games are going to sell extremely well on Steam, on Xbox, on PS5, because obviously we know that Forza Horizon 5 sold over 5 million on PlayStation 5. The game itself has over 55 million players since launch in 2021. I think, and again, look, this is my opinion. I know the virtual tomatoes are going to, or the kids are going to come for me, as they like to say. I actually believe in my heart that because many of these games will be releasing day and date, or at least in the same year on PlayStation 5, many of the journalistic community that is PlayStation-centric gamers that have dinged Xbox exclusives before for that reason will be more inclined to actually review these games, give them high scores, and because of the buzz of it releasing on PS5, if not day and date, very close to it, are going to sell gangbuster numbers. I think this is the year of Xbox Game Studios. It's my personal opinion on it. If you don't believe that, that's fine. I'm not going to fight you on it. But the numbers are the numbers, folks. We will see. Buzz, let's get your thoughts on this, man. Number 6 for Forza Horizon 6 and number 10 already for Fable.
Oh, yeah. I kind of expected with Forza. I didn't think it would be any problem for it to be in the top 10. And I figured maybe Fable, as we get closer to a solid release date, that it would climb some more, but it's already in the top 10. So that being said, those are just two examples from one studio of Xbox first party that more than likely will be in the Game of the Year conversation on several different shows and things. So I think it's a good sign as far as where Xbox first party is going to drive everybody this year type of deal. With Modern Warfare being the Call of Duty of this year, I think that's going to be another one that lands much better, obviously, than Black Ops 7 did. But I think it will, possibly break records to the point where maybe Black Ops 6 doesn't seem as much of a standout in comparison from 2 years ago. So we'll see how things land. But I do believe this is the year for Xbox. You got two of their tentpole series, one being a returning tentpole with Fable, and Forza Horizon, especially with it going to other platforms within the same year. I think this is a title that stands to do 20 million in sales in its first year. I think the first year before it was like 2 million for the pre-orders. So they had the early access. And then it was shortly after like another 10 million. And then after that, they were constantly adding a few mil a month for the first few years, to the point where now I think they're at 55 million players overall. Sales wise is probably somewhere about half that, but I would say overall it's still one of the better selling non-Call of Duty titles on pretty much any platform right now. And then with E-Day, I think it's going to be, since it's more like, since it is going to be multi-platform as well, I think that one's going to do a lot better than what the recent remaster of Gears that was out on Xbox as well as on PlayStation. I think E-Day will be one that sees the 10 million sales mark within a short period of time. Combat Evolve or Campaign Evolve, we'll see how well that does. I think that one does fairly decent. May not hit the 10 million right off the rip, but I do think it'll do fairly well, at least on PC and Xbox, and we'll see how it does on PlayStation. But yeah, Call of Duty, I think this next one will wind up going back to true form as far as their, meeting their expectations. So we don't have this blaming of the first party for a down turn as far as, some of the revenue and stuff like that. But yeah, Forza Horizon 5 or Forza Horizon 6, that's going to be, I won't say the biggest selling title, because obviously GTA is still kind of looming where it may land this year or it may get delayed. But outside of it, I would say there's probably going to be GTA. There'll be Forza Horizon 6. And we'll see if something like Judas reaches that number. I think Exodus is delayed. And there's another game that could be up there that is escaping me. We'll see how Persona 6 does. I think this Persona, with it being Xbox day and date and probably on the Xbox stage, much like Metaphor, we'll probably see, 5 or 6 million within a short period of time. So we'll see how that launches. But I think Forza Horizon 6 is going to be a standout for sales this year, all aside from Call of Duty, obviously, and GTA. But yeah, they're going to have a strong year this year. Have they called the publisher of the year for 25 yet? Because the amount of titles that they delivered, I would have to believe that they probably, grabbed that trophy as well for 25. So we'll see what happens for 26. But I would almost guarantee that 26 is going to be Xbox, publisher of the year as well. So we'll see.
Look, again, either way of how you you play your games on Xbox, whether that be on PC, whether that be through Xbox Game Pass or Game Pass for PC, or you just buy all your games, you're winning. And more so if you are a PlayStation gamer, and that's your main, right? That's what you play. You're winning too. Most of these games, I know Paris had said that he believes E-Day is day and date. That has not been confirmed. I know that Crispy Bomb, who's in the chat, so shout out to my brother, he says no. We'll have to see. If it does release day and date on PC, on Xbox, and on PlayStation, I agree with you. I think it would sell considerably better than what I look. You've heard me say this before. I was very disappointed with that release. I really was hoping for a Unreal Engine 5 remake, not an Unreal Engine 3. Again, the game was fine. I beat it. It was great, but I really was disappointed and let down with what they delivered. And again, I didn't even pay for it. I got it for free, so I have literally no right to complain. But I was hoping for a better version, and I think that if it would have been Unreal Engine 5, it might have actually sold even better on PlayStation. Again, that's just my thoughts and theories on it. But let me just catch up on, make sure I will caught up on super chats here. And okay, we have one here from It's Me, the Broke Boy. Will, great to see you here, brother. Thank you so much for the generosity as always. He says it's confirmed. The Xbox ROG Ally is an Xbox. They have it at my local Best Buy in the case with all of the Xbox consoles. Yeah, you sent me a picture. Yeah, they actually had quite a few of series consoles as well as the Xbox Ally and Ally X in there. So yeah, I mean, listen, I know it's tomato with this whole is it an Xbox thing? It's a freaking Xbox. It has an Xbox branding. It has a button on it. If you don't think it is, okay, you know what? If you feel that's how you won the war, congratulations. I don't know what to tell you. To me, it's an Xbox. It's an Xbox handheld. It's sitting right here. I freaking love it. I use it every day, or every other day, at least every other day. And I'm excited to have it. We have a super chat, one gifted sub from Gamer by Choice. He has gifted one double barrel gaming membership, brother. That is very kind of you. And he's been a channel member for as long as the freaking podcast or channel has existed. So once again, Gamer by Choice, thank you for the ridiculous generosity all of these years, because that's what it's been. But Fuzzy Belvedere, that's going to do it for us here, folks. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I had a blast. We had a couple of, I think bookends rather nicely. We talked about Nioh 3, which I think is going to sell okay. I don't know how well it's going to sell, but we know that at least it's going to come to Xbox at some point. I do hope that we do get the first two, because I have 1 and 2 right here, the collector's edition. I'll buy them again. I would buy them again on Xbox, same way I bought Final Fantasy 7, and I'll get this, whatever else they released that was an exclusive before. I'll buy it because I like playing on Xbox. But Fuzzy, let's sell the brand, brother. Where could people not only support your wife, which of course is Fright Night with Ferocious Fee? She has her own YouTube channel, folks, and it's horror-based, folks. If you are a fan of horror, you might want to check it out. It's actually a really fun, podcast where they talk about some really, really, high-end film and some not so much. So that's always the fun part of it. And it's a fun show, really, was what it comes down to. But also, I think it's time to sell your brand, buddy. You are Mr. Forza. This is going to be your year, at least in my opinion, where we get you past 1K, because you deserve it. And you're going to have a lot of content surrounding the release of Forza Horizon 6 later this year. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people subscribe to both of your YouTube channels, but more importantly, follow you guys on social media?
As always, I love doing this podcast on Monday afternoons with you, Boom. Love talking about whether it's breaking news or stuff that's up and coming, as far as the showcases down the road, as well as fan fests. A lot of the games like Forza Horizon 6 that we're looking forward to. Yeah, this is always awesome. Love doing this, and thanks to everybody in the chat. Greatly appreciate you guys coming out, hanging out with us, interacting with us. We greatly appreciate the support. Don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate it. I put the links for both my YouTube channel as well as my wife's this week for Fright Night with Ferocious Feed, we're going to be reviewing the newer Toxic Avenger, the one, I think it's from 2024.
Yes.
But we will probably be comparing it to the original. So if you've seen the original and haven't seen the new one, I believe it's available on wait, let me check. I think Paramount.
I think it's on all the streaming services. And that cast, by the way, is ridiculous. I can't believe some of the people in that film, and I'm talking about the newer version or the retelling of Toxic Avenger. It has a crazy good cast, man.
Yeah. So definitely check that out. I think it's Disney Prime. It's on quite a few streaming services, or you can rent it or buy it on Prime. But check it out. Come hang out with us Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once again, we'll be talking or comparing the first or the original to the new one. So come hang out with us. But on my YouTube channel, link also in the chat, I have a kind of like my wish list after the Dev Direct. So see what my thoughts are as far as after seeing the Dev Direct and some of the things I would like to see in Forza Horizon 6. I'll be continuing to do these hopefully weekly, because I'm looking to do one between tomorrow and Thursday. The next one will be focused on No Hezi, which is kind of like driving in and out of traffic. Think of Frogger, but instead of cutting across traffic, you're in and out of the traffic. And that's one thing that would be kind of cool to have in Forza, which right now the only game that you can really do that with is a modded version of Assetto Corsa. So we'll see if Playground adds that mode. It'd be really cool. There's a lot of other cool things that we're hoping to see and that we've kind of gotten hints of for Forza Horizon. So be on the lookout for updates, weekly on that. And, the countdown to racing in Tokyo, I'll see you on the roads May 15th or 19th if you don't do the early access. But as always, take care. Have a great week. Be ready to tackle that backlog. Like I've been saying, we're going to get bombarded with some games. I think somebody may mention RE9 is this month. You got High on Life 2 this month.
Yeah.
There's a ton more, but I'm looking for High on Life 2 as well as Replace next month. So it's starting to ramp up. So be prepared. Clear that backlog. Take care.
Indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us. A big thank you to all of these super chats, gifted subs, and channel memberships that continue to support the channel behind the scene. Mrs. Boom and I do greatly appreciate all of the generosity. And of course, a big thank you to the chat hanging out and being here, being interactive with us, and making today's show fun. This was a fun show. I had a blast doing it. Hopefully you enjoyed it enough to, of course, hit the like button before you get on out of here. And I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day will be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. He would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.